spoke to the Confit Pathways guys in an earlier episode, and they're working on um, basically their motto is train to be free. So providing opportunities for incarcerated youths to work and gain their life back through physical activity, basically. And this is all to prevent reincarceration. How much, or one of the things that Andrew said from that episode was that Andrew said that during that episode that he thinks that the high rates of recidivism in Australia are due to potentially things like not having a father figure. Um, and we spoke a little bit about lack of education or lack of knowledge. How much of an issue is lack of communication skills and ability to, we know the dynamic in family relationships, working relationships, all these relationships we have in our lives with different people. If someone isn't able to sustain a relationship in these different settings like the home or the workplace and so forth, how much of a factor is that for these high reincarceration rates?
Yeah, it definitely plays a part. So, um, the the thing about going out with young people and getting them fit and doing activity with them that's going to build their their fitness and their skills, that's all absolutely fantastic. And and obviously there's the benefits of the physical fitness that's going along with that. But one of the very key things that I imagine is happening in that situation is the relationship that the young person has with their trainer or with their mentor or whoever it is, and then there's the opportunity to be doing that hard work together, and each of the mentor and the young person are in that hard work together. This kind of doing things together that involve a little bit of challenge, a little bit of scariness, can I do it or maybe I can't, but you've got somebody there who's a strong pillar who's going to help you through it. You're going to celebrate together or you'll commiserate a little bit together, but then you've got the encouragement in that relationship to get up and have another crack at it. This stuff is what actually strengthens our resilience and our capacity as human beings. So we totally need that. And so if people are struggling in their relationships, in their early childhood and in their their early household experiences, then relationship actually needs to be the solution. We still need for relationship to be the solution, but that means the bringing and the giving and the supporting of positive relationships. So it's absolutely critical, and I do see that many people that I've worked with who are incarcerated or who have been incarcerated, the thickness, if you like, of their relation, the density of the relationships that they have is quite low. So they don't have a big range of people that they can go to or turn to. In some situations, they have almost no one. And it's hard for us as human beings. We are social creatures, and to have no one or few people to talk to means that our well, the sociologists refer to it this way. They talk about social capital, that our social capital is low. We we just don't have as many opportunities
Yeah.
arrive at our doorstep, and without opportunities, then we may be heading straight back into substance abuse to block out that discomfort, and and then one thing leads to another, and people end up back in prison.
So Parker J. Palmer, a sociologist and activist, like you just mentioned, tried and tested a model for 25 years called the circle of trust. Would you say that circle of trust is in a similar essence to what you were just saying there? That group dynamic through learning fosters an environment where people can ride their highs and lows together and kind of support each other to get some better outcomes. Is that what you're? Is that a similar method of learning or technique that is used similar to what we are just discussing with the confit pathways guys?
Yeah, absolutely. And so it's entirely relational. And the beautiful thing about Parker's work is that he has drawn together, and they've been tried and tested across that period of time, um, a group of principles which he refers to as the touchstones. And these touchstones are open source. So you don't have to be a Courage and Renewal facilitator to, get a license to use them. You can just pop onto the Courage and Renewal website and search touchstones, and there they are, and you can use them in your meetings and your groups and your different group settings. But they're very powerful set of principles to hold what we call safe space for people to be able to connect and communicate. So the structure of that safe space is that people, there's respect that is imbued in it, that one has the right to speak one's truth about a situation, but not in a way that's going to be harmful for others. And anyway, because of the strength and rigor of these principles, then a circle of trust means bringing a group of people together to share conversation about those things that matter in life. So, the kinds of circles that I've been involved with over the years are named things like the courage to teach, the courage to be free, the courage to work, the courage to die, the courage to you insert the
Courage to
verb that you
create,
want.
I think was one.
Courage to create. That's right. That was another one that we did. Yeah, and so what happens in a circle of trust is that people come together to consider their own lives in relation to these big principles. But when we consider our own lives safely with a small group of people that we, have come to form trust with, and they're sharing of their lives, it's not a cry fest and it's not a share or die fest, but it's a creation of space in which people can feel safe to share. Then often, we might hear ourselves say something from deep within that we didn't actually realize we were going to say, or articulate something to ourselves that we haven't articulated before. And, those moments can be quite transformational. And so I'm actually really very interested in how we might be able to use some of those kinds of technologies with prisoners and with people who have had lived experience of prison, because effectively what we're doing with the circle of security is exactly that, but the questions are structured around parenting and how we parent. So if you like, the courage to parent, right? And but we could go to any number of other topics and create that same kind of space. And in fact, just this year at the National Speech Pathology Conference, I had a wonderful opportunity to run a workshop which we called Up Close and Personal. And I invited 17 they were included just a few justice professionals, but also people who had lived experience of prison, and one person who actually was a prisoner at the time, and we were able to get day release for that person to come and join us at that workshop. And the speech pathologists who were maybe hadn't met prisoners before and were interested to do so. And yeah, it was a very enriching experience of shared conversation in small groups. But um, one of my clients who has formerly been a prisoner, we were discussing the event afterwards, and she said to me, I said, "Oh, we had that conversation at that workshop," and she said, "That's what heals me. It's that opportunity to be able to be together with others and to share stories that are really deeply authentic and real." So that the latter is my words, but her words were, "That's what heals me." And yeah, so those kinds of conversations, that kind of safe space, we don't have quite enough opportunity in our busy worlds, in our busy societies, I think, to have that kind of connection, and yet it's worth taking time for. It punches above its weight in terms of, the impact it has for supporting people in their steadiness, in their clarity, um, in understanding themselves and their willingness to understand others and understand the complex topics, the hard topics, to understand them in more expansive ways. So Parker talks about the tragic gap between the way things are and the way we would like things to be. And he talks about standing, if we've got a community of others who we can, stand in those tragic gaps with, then it can, instead of breaking our hearts, this gap between the way things are and the way we would like things to be, instead of breaking our hearts into a thousand pieces and shards and shattering them, it can instead break our hearts open to new ways of understanding so that we can actually meet each other more authentically, where we're each at, and understand each other better. And from a place of understanding each other and creation of shared meaning together, we've got a much stronger base and much stronger opportunity for managing our big and wicked problems than making kind of hurried decisions because we feel like we have to do something about it.